Imagine, if you will, a great reservoir out of which lead innumerable small rivulets or channels. Chris, Katie, thank you. Out of which lead innumerable small rivulets or channels. At its farther end, each channel opens out into a small fountain. This fountain is not only being continually filled and replenished from the reservoir, but is itself a radiating center from whence it gives out in all directions that which it receives, so that all who come within its radius are refreshed and blessed. Emily Cady, Lessons in Truth. It's a good book. You should read it. And if you've read it, read it again, because it'll be different. You'll see things you didn't see the first time. I think you're familiar with the book somewhat of Lessons in Truth. I think this paragraph sums up the whole first 2 chapters. Now, those times when all our intellectual concepts about the nature of God, about our oneness with God, this picture will come to your mind. This picture of the reservoir, the rivulets, and the fountains. It's a wonderful image. A fountain is a symbol of your individuality, that part of you that is indivisible from God. That is that spark of divinity that is within each one of us. Without the reservoir, each fountain is what? Pretty much a paperweight. You wouldn't go ooh-ah at a fountain that has no water or nothing happening. Yeah. It's broken. It's not alive. When the water's on, it's alive. One of the most fantastic shows I've ever seen with fountains was at Versailles. At night, they did a sound and light show in the gardens on the fountains, dancing fountains. Oh my, it was absolutely incredible. If a fountain doesn't have the water running from the source through it, then it's not a fountain. It doesn't do what a fountain does. So it does not exist as a fountain, an empty thing. Now, we, connected to the source, to that wonderful reservoir we call God, we're continually renewed and refreshed. Renewed with life, renewed with divine intelligence, renewed with a new spirit. I remember that after that heart attack I had in 1990, a scripture jumped out for me as I was recovering at home those 6 weeks when they wouldn't let me do anything but walk 1 block up and back once a day. A lot of time sitting on my sofa watching useless cooking shows on TV. But the scripture that popped out is, I will put a new heart in you. That's part of that renewing. Is there any part of you that cannot be renewed? One of the news people on television gave a portion of his liver in the last month or so to his sister. And within a certain period of time, that part in him will be restored. And that portion in her will grow to full size. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that a miracle? And how does it do that? We're connected to that reservoir, that source. Constantly refilled, constantly refreshed. And now, I want to talk about salmon. I thought you needed to look at one. This is a test. Can you name all 5 of the salmon that are found in the Pacific Northwest? Sockeyes 1. Salmon is salmon. They have names. Chum. Coho. Chinook. Pink. Haven't you seen cans of pink salmon? The other's orange. Mostly. Anybody like salmon? This last salmon that I really got close to, that became so memorable, I cannot forget it. Bishop William and Anita took me out to dinner Christmas a few years ago in Ojai, and there was a special seafood place. I had salmon. And I found myself beginning to pray. Oh God. It was exquisite. Absolutely exquisite. Oh, and it was Christmas time, and we were outside with those little gas light, heaters around, because it was cool, but it was wonderful. I've known several salmons pretty intimately over the years. Yeah. They're just amazing. Amazing creatures. They're amazing, but that's not unlike a whole lot of creatures in this world. They're born in fresh water. And the eggs are laid on the bottom, among the gravel in the freshwater stream. That's where they develop. And then at a certain time, they head out. And they range from that stream in which they were born. They range from, Oregon, Washington, up into Vancouver, to Alaska. And then at some point in time, something in them says, go home, go back. And at a certain time in their season, they have this imperative to go back to the stream in which they were born. Not any other stream, but back to the one in which they were born. All of them mixing together in one big group, heading back, and then they go off to their individual streams. They know how to find them. And there they spawn. They lay the eggs to start the cycle all over again. They will not go to any other stream. And one of the things that's been discovered is that when a stream of salmon is wiped out, when they've all been fished out, predators have gotten them all, when something's happened, that there aren't any left, no other group of salmon will go into that or claim that stream. It remains empty. At one point in time, the fish scientists had a brilliant idea. We'll import some salmon from the Soviet Union. How's that? Sound pretty good? Oh, they were beautiful. They were gorgeous. They were like shiny, fresh, beautiful sterling silver. So gorgeous. They looked like mercury. You know what mercury looks like, right? It's like the surface of a mirror. They seeded a river with about 1 million of these. They released all these salmon fry. That's what they're called, and that's not how you cook them, salmon fry. And they'll spend all of their life energy trying to get back to where they were born, not where they were seeded. Back to the Soviet Union. Pretty amazing. And we call it instinct. They don't have the freedom of choice to go up any stream. They do not. They have to find that one stream, the one source of their lives. It's programmed within them. They don't have the choice. They don't have the freedom. Absolute freedom of choice. We have that freedom of choice, do we not? You can choose to believe what you choose to believe. You can believe anything. You can believe the earth is flat. You can believe that we've never been to the moon. You can believe that you're going to hit the lottery this week. You can even believe that one of these days soon I'm going to be young and beautiful. Yep, I'd laugh too. Oh, I love that line. I've been young and I've been beautiful, just not at the same time. We have the choice to see God as that reservoir of the allness of God, as the source of all that we are, or not. We have the choice to decide that what we see out in the world is our reality, or not. We have the choice in every situation to choose whether we're going to remember that God is present or not. It's our choice. Now, that's a lot different than the salmon. They don't have that choice. They have something built into them. You might like to know that that last salmon that I had in Ojai, it got a real blessing. Not only was I blessing it as I ate it, but the bishop blessed it to start with. So it was heavenly. We always have a choice. When we choose, each choice that we make determines what follows, becomes a cause for the following experiences. I chose to go to college. I was the first person in my family to go to college. I chose to do that. I didn't have to, but I wanted to. I did that, and as a result of that, at the time I applied to ministerial school, being a college graduate was supposedly it wasn't a hardcore requirement, but it was strongly suggested. As a result, a lot of things happened. I moved from Cincinnati to here. We've been together here for a number of years, all because of that choice and the choices that followed. You choose to live in a particular place, and then you have experiences in that place that are unique to that place and the people of the place and the environment of that place. As a result of going to the University of Cincinnati, I have the privilege of being an alumnus and receiving all those letters saying, We know you'd like to give money to the alumni fund. And I get a letter every year from the College Conservatory of Music asking for a donation to their annual fund. And I will tell you that even after all these years, I am so grateful for that education that I had, that should I ever have the means, I would establish a scholarship, because I am so grateful for that experience and for that school. Anyway, some of us choose to see God right where we are. Some of us chose some years ago maybe to buy a Yugo. That had a certain number of specific experiences attached to it, you know. Or maybe an Edsel. Remember those? My father thought they were pretty good cars. I don't know. I was too young. We can choose to think positive things, no matter how appearances are in our lives. What happens when you do that? Outer things may not change, but your response to the outer things will change. You can be looking at something perfectly awesome and start considering it negative, and that's the experience you will have. It will be negative for you. What a difference between you and a coho or a chinook or any other of the salmon. It's your freedom of choice. We all have it. And someone who was a lot wiser than I said, "As you sow, so shall you reap." Well, I don't spend a whole lot of time with a needle and thread, let me tell you, and nor do I go out in my backyard and dig up the dirt. I gave that up a long time ago, and sow things. But we're all sowing all the time with our thoughts. That's your freedom, to think what you will, to believe what you will, to choose what you will. Now, we choose. That's done with your conscious mind. Hey, I choose to look at this, or I choose to see that. I choose to go here, or I choose to go there. I choose to see God as the source of everything. I choose to look at what's happening in my life, whether it seems good or not. I choose to see it containing something. What? It contains good. Just a little bit earlier, I told you about the good that our roof contained. That the loss of the roof contained. We're going to get new and better, and finally end some of the challenges we've had with it for the last 18 years. Now, we make the choices with the conscious mind, but something has to happen to them. They have to become planted in your subconscious mind. Whoa, and what does that take? Repetition, repetition, repetition. Why? Habit. Habit. Been a long time since I've told you the old story about the frog in the road. A guy was driving a wagon down a rutted road, and he saw, as he stopped the wagon, just in front of him, a frog in the road. And he said, "What are you doing there?" And the frog said, "Just walking down the road." "Huh. But you're in a rut. I can't get out." "You can't get out?" "No, I can't get out." Guy started his wagon up kind of slowly and approached the frog a little closer. Pretty soon the frog went hop right out of the rut. And the guy said, "I thought you said you couldn't get out." "You came along. I had to." We can change when we have the motivation to change. We can think differently when we have the motivation to think differently. We have all these habits of thinking. So many times I leave here and I'm going someplace that I don't usually go, and I'll find that mindlessly I start heading for a place I usually go from here, and then think, "Oh my goodness, I forgot to make that turn because I'm running on automatic." How often we'll find ourselves reacting to a situation, and some part of us inside is saying, "Wow, what's going on here? I mean, I'm not even controlling this. It's just coming out of me. Where'd this come from? Where'd those words come from? Why am I reacting like this? Why am I responding in this way?" It's coming right out of the subconscious. It's been implanted in there, and it's an automatic routine that we do. Sometimes, some of you remember buying gas in the 1970s when the lines were long and the prices were high. I can remember praying at the pumps. What was it back then? $1.75? And I'd say, "Oh God." Sometimes I'd call on his son. Amazing. First thought was how bad that was. How awful it was that the prices were high. Pattern of thinking. Repetition. You have to repeat the new to break up the old, to replace the old. One of the universities out in the Pacific Northwest, remember the seeding with the salmon fry from the Soviet Union? That didn't work. So they took salmon eggs, about 70,000 salmon eggs. They seeded them in a particular stream, a stream that had no salmon anymore. And 70,000. Released them. The eggs were down in the gravel. They hatched. They left. And the next time, when it was time for them to come and spawn, can you imagine how many came back? 12 pair. 12 pair. That's remarkable. 12 pair. Now, that could start a stock to begin with, so that's an improvement from 7. But they had to do it differently. They had to make them think you were born here, because they were. They had to change the programming that was in the little fish eggs, the little salmon fry, when they came out of their eggs, when they were hatched. And eventually, they were able to reseed that stream. So what do you have to do? You have to keep remembering two things. Remembering that God is present. You are that fountain that always is connected to the source of what? All good, all intelligence, all power. And then begin to see your life and the things that happen in your life as containing something. All good. No matter how it looks, remember, there is good in here. There's some story about a pony at Christmas. And a little kid digging with all this stuff here. There must be a pony here somewhere. Yeah. So, to choose once is not enough. Unless every choice you make is always to choose the reservoir, the allness of God, the presence and power of God that's here with you now and always. And you build that habit until it's automatic. But if not, it's the other stuff that's going to come up. So you choose, and you remind yourself of your choice. And you're vigilant to catch yourself. You don't allow yourself just to go on automatic and start going back to the old stuff. When we go back to the old stuff, when we forget to be aware of what we're thinking, of what's coming out of our mouths, that's how we end up being depressed, angry, feel fear, and feel isolated and separated. But we have a way out of that. Choose, and choose again and again. Be persistent. Be persistent. Perhaps you've heard, as a man thinketh, so is he. Now, it's not as a man thinketh. We think with our conscious mind, and not as a man thinketh, but as a man thinketh in his heart. So is he. And it's in the heart, that means in the subconscious. What you have thought and implanted, handed over to your subconscious mind. And to do that, you need to make the choice, and to make it again and again, till it becomes so implanted, it's a habit. As he thinketh in his hearts, as he puts it in his subconscious, that is what he is.